Hey everybody, welcome back to the Build Show Network. Steve Basic Architect here. You're in for a treat today. We are going out to the job site and we're going to look at this system that's being installed out there. I'm not going to reveal what it is here. I want to wait till we get out there and tell you all about it. But it's a pretty amazing system. We're installing it literally as we speak. And I will give you a little clue. I'm going to tell you, think warm feet. And what does that mean? So without delay, let's go out to the job site. We're going to leave our buddy Big Red here in the studio. We're going to go check this out and see what we're doing. So I see you out there. So welcome. We're out here at the Ranch Remodel. You probably saw some of the videos that I have on the Build Show Network talking about all the different things that we're doing out here. It's a very exciting project, but we're here to talk about Warmboard. So what is Warmboard? Well, it's a prepackaged radiant floor heating system. And I say prepackaged in that, you know, they do an exceptional job at Warmboard, making sure that we get all the pieces that are required for us to install a successful system. And I want to say it's probably about as close to plug and play. I know we throw that word around like crazy, but what we're going to talk about right now is the pre-planning that went into this project. And the pre-planning is it's a shared task, and they're providing us some of the fine drawings that I give them the ghost background, and then they come back with the layout that we then review, approve, etc. The builder gets the chance to approve it. So it's really a unified team effort. Systems like radiant floors years ago that used to take weeks to install, we can do this 3,500 square foot house in a measure of days, not weeks. The first sheet here, we have our zone sheet, which basically shows all the floor tubing layout. And then we have a second sheet here, which is our panel layout. You'll see here that we basically have zone 1 for that section of the house, zone 2 through this section of the house, zone 3 through this section of the house, zone 4 there, zone 5, zone 6 comes through this room and the back, and then we have zone 7, which is the bathroom. Not only do we have these multiple zones totaling 7, but each of these zones now gets broken down into smaller zones. And notice that each one of these there's zone 1.2, zone 1.1, and zone 1.3, which make up zone 1. The tubing that we're using, as you push heated water through it, it heats up the panel heats up the room, but there's a loss along that line. Well, you can't make that line 1,000 feet long. So they have a predetermined length of pipe that they can use so that it's a very delicate balance between the heat loss and heat provided. The guys actually installing this are the GC, the carpenter and plumber that are on this job. Warmboard makes it so easy and are so prepared with their information that it's really a seamless transfer from their technology out here to the job site to get this stuff installed properly. None of this system has to get commissioned. It's already predetermined. All the controls, they're all preset. Literally plug in the thermostat, plug it into the boiler, and let this system run. The second drawing here, well, this is their panel layout. There's an RS panel, an RT panel, and an RF panel. They did the full layout. They take the cutoffs from different areas and then they reuse them in different areas. So we're not necessarily throwing away product. It's a system that is, you know, very well planned. So we're not just cutting panels and throwing half a panel in the dumpster. We're reusing those panels to fill in the blanks in some of those shorter areas. Let's talk about the panels for a second. I happen to have a couple examples here. We have the RS panel and RT panel. Remember, RS is straight panel. And then the RT panels, which are basically the turning panels, where we provide the loop to be able to return upon itself or come up here and go out and be fed down into the manifold, etc. But these are the panels that help the tubing change direction. Notice that the aluminum face is consistent all the way across the panel. It allows for a pretty quick disbursement of that heat. Because it's aluminum, it's highly conductive, it throws that heat really quickly across this panel because it's all aluminum. Because we have such a large spread of that heat, they can maintain lower temperatures and make the heated water efficiency that much better because of the amount of conductivity we get out of these aluminum panels. You can pretty much put any system on top of this. You just obviously have to watch for not screwing through these the tubings. It comes in 2 panels. Because this is a renovation project, we get the renovation panel, which basically sits on top of the subfloor. But they also make a thicker version, which is a rated structural floor. You can use their structural panel as the actual floor assembly sheathing there and gain some efficiency in the cost because you're paying to put the subfloor down, and oh, by the way, the subfloor is already routed for those Warmboard panels. We're gonna get into the install. They send a whole bunch of information. We're gonna talk about that, about how we get it in. They do extensive work on the front end to make sure that a project like this goes in flawless. And when it goes in flawless, it means I look good, it means the builder looks good, it means the client is happy, and we get a great project. So Warmboard sends their own install kit. So why don't we bust this open? We'll pretend it's Christmas morning, and we'll see what Warmboard sent us. We have all kinds of documentation that talks about the install, proper install. And then here, in this separate box, we have a bunch of fancy little tools and all that good stuff. But look at this. They take the time to send out the router bit. We got some template guides. These attach to your router, so you're not routering the bad part of the panel, you're just routering out the section that you need. And how do we know the section that we need? Well, look at this. They are good enough to provide us with templates so that we can router out the turns, the smaller radius, the larger. We can do straight runs. And if you want to get the mustache guy into your radiant floor system, then we have that template too. So, alrighty. So, I'm here with Paul, I'm here with Gary. They got the first panel down. We're gonna start laying out some panels here. You know, they recommend a couple methods here. Method 1 is basically a screw-only method. Method 2 is a nail and glue method. Here, we're actually combining these. We're gonna do a hybrid method. We're gonna do the glue, but we're gonna use screws and not nails. Paul, is there anything we should know about, you know, installing these panels that you've come to learn, you know, in reading the instructions and such?
Just basically keeping it very tight along the length of the panel, using the pins to set it up and lock it in place, and just creating about a 1/8 of an inch gap along the long side of it for expansion and contraction.
Is that something you guess at? I mean, how do you?
No, I actually have some tile spacers here that I use.
Okay, so you just put those in just like you would use as grout spacers for tile, and you have at it. So tight joints on the butt ends, kind of the long sides, we get that 1/8 inch space, right? 1.5 inches. So these are 1.5 inches, coarse thread, self-tapping, screw. All right, so you saw in the install kit that we had these T-shaped pins. I called them alignment pins. Well, this is how they go. So Gary, show us how those get used. So they basically lock in place in those tube inserts there. As you screw off this panel, you're assured trusted alignment here. So they put a couple screws in while those alignment pins are in. And rest assured, when it's time to snap that tubing in, we have nice aligned tube holes there. So yeah, so you basically, you lay it all out, you get it initially set, Gary follows up and makes sure everything's nice and tight, gets the spacing right, alignment, all that good stuff, and we end up with a nice room full of panels. Well, looks like you guys are off to a great start. We're moving around the house. One of the beauties of having that panel layout is that you could have multiple carpenters working in multiple rooms because someone's already taken the time to pre-plan this system so that when that bedroom comes into the hallway and this bedroom goes into the hallway, the systems interlock and the puzzle gets completed. you know, I'm always referencing these drawings because as an architect, I love drawings, but there's no substitute for great planning. So he's got the router bit in, he's got the collar on there. We have the template in. The beauty of this is you get the template where you want it. You put the screws where you need it. You're all set. So John, if you would, please. There's no substitute for taking the thinking out of a project and just being able to drop a template, get it lined up, and then have at it. Back in here with Gary and Paul, we got a bunch of the panels down. Remember that we glued these. We did some initial screwing to it. Well, before that glue really sets up and get these panels in place, we need to have Gary go back and he's going to start hitting the field. But in an effort to save knees and back and all of that good stuff, we obviously have the upright screw gun. It's belt fed, so we're going to go through and Gary's going to give that final screw down of all the field screws here, and then we'll have pretty much a finished install here. So have at it, Gary. Hey everybody, hope you enjoyed that trip out to the job site. Man, it's always fun going out there and seeing all this stuff come to life. That Warmboard system is, it's a pretty exceptional system. I was impressed, got to tell you, from day one, and then everybody that I met at that company along the way that helped us out with designing and getting that system in place on that project. Everybody was exceptional, and it's leading to a really good job. So hope you enjoyed that video. If you haven't checked out some of the previous videos, got a bunch of videos on the Ranch Remodel out there. All kinds of great stuff going on out there. Go check out some of those videos, and while you're checking those out, make sure you check out my colleagues. We got Matt, Wade, Jake, Brent. Everybody's doing some great stuff. Follow me on Instagram. You can find me on Steven Basic Architect. And then lastly, I got my good friend Peter Yost and good friend Jake Bruton, and along with myself, we host the Unbuild It podcast. So we talk about everything building science, building assemblies, building industry. So go check that out. So until next time, that's a wrap on the Build Show. Long live our buildings.